What's up, you guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super awesome wooden Marine Corps flag. I've gotten a couple requests to make this video, so without further ado, let's get started. Yeah. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is get our wood cut. I just have some 8-foot 2x6s here, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and rip 7 strips out of them at 3/4 inches. So they'll pretty much be the same as a 1x2. A 1x2 is 3/4 inches by 1.5 inches. So if you'd like to just buy some 1x2s from the store, you could just buy some of those. Usually I'll get 7 of those for a single flag. And then when I rip these down, I'm going to make sure I rip off that rounded edge first. So the way I'll do that is just set my guide just a little bit lower than a little bit smaller than the actual board, and then rip it off, and then I'll set it to 3/4 inches, flip it around, and then I'll go ahead and get 7 pieces ripped. And then once we got those 7 pieces ripped, what we're gonna do is cut 13 pieces at 37 inches, 4 pieces at 18.5 inches, and 2 pieces at 5 inches. Alright, so now that I got all my pieces cut, the pieces that you cut at 18.5, you could actually just cut those at 18 inches, because depending on where you buy your wood might not actually be 1.5 inches wide. It might be just slightly smaller, and then over 13 boards it might actually add up. So if you just go ahead and cut those at 18 inches, then you won't have to worry about them being too long. But the next thing that I'll be doing, I'm not really going to do anything with these for right now, but I'm going to go ahead and take my sander, and then I just got some 220 grit sandpaper on there, and I'm just gonna buzz over all of the faces of these just to get a nice smooth finish on them. And then after that, we will be ready to torch them. Alright, so next up we're just gonna torch them. I just got a Burns-O-Matic propane torch, and you can torch these however dark or light you want to. It's definitely just a personal preference, but I'll just show you how I'm gonna torch mine. And I think the look that I'm gonna go for is just go a little bit darker around the edges, if I can. But let me just show you what it looks like. And then you just wanna make sure you don't pause anywhere, otherwise it will leave a really dark spot. Unless, of course, you wanna like do dark spots on your stripes. That's totally fine also. Alright, so I think I'll go something like that. So it's pretty dark, but like I said, it's totally up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these torched, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now that we are done with the torching, the next thing that we can do is start staining. So for my red, I got some Minwax water-based wood stain, and this stuff is from Lowe's, and I got it tinted in Scarlet, right there. For my blue, I just got some Varathane water-based wood stain, tinted in navy blue. This stuff is from Home Depot. I believe Lowe's should have a similar color that is true blue. And then for my white, this is some Varathane water-based wood stain, and this one is just tinted in white. And to stain, I'll just be using a rag. You can use a stain brush or whatever you prefer. And for the union, what I'm gonna do is just take my tape measure, and then I'm gonna measure, it'll be on the top 7 stripes. I'm gonna measure 14 3/4 inches over, and then I'm gonna make a little mark. And then I will take my square, and then I will hold it right on that mark. And then I'm going to take one of these heavy duty utility blades, and then I'm going to take my hammer and just lightly tap it in so that it barely penetrates through the surface. And then I will use that as my stain divider to stain the union and to separate the union from the stripes. So I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like. Alright, so as you can see, it doesn't have to go in there very deep, just enough to make it through the surface. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get these all stained up. Alright, so I've given this some time to dry, and I just wanted to show you real quick what it looks like when you pull these razors out. Oops, there it comes. So as you can see, it's got a really nice clean line there, so I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these pulled out real quick. Alright, so I got all the razors pulled out. One more thing when you're staining this, you also want to just stain just right inside these edges, just in case it doesn't line up perfectly flush. Then that way there won't be any just like white wood showing where there's supposed to be a red stripe. And then I'm going to be putting a frame around the edge of mine, but if you're not going to be putting a frame, then you can also either leave these just wood color, or you could stain them the color of the stripe, whatever you prefer. But the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and get this all put together. So we're just going to go ahead and flip the whole thing over onto its face. All right, so now that I got it flipped over, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure 1 inch and 14 inches over from the top and the bottom, and from the left and the right. So up in the 4 corners, I'll have a mark at 1 inch and at 14 inches. And at those marks, that is what I will use when I put my backer strips on. That will be my guide. And then once I got those marked, what I'm going to do is just flip all of these up on their edge, just like this. Then I'm going to go through and lay a bead of glue down on each one, and then I will flip them back down. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my clamps that I got here, and then I'll make sure that this right edge right here is as nice and straight as possible. Then I'll go ahead and put a clamp somewhere near the middle, just to get everything to kind of like hold together. Then I'll take my other clamp and I'll put it right on this edge over here, and I'll get that clamped up nice and tight. Then I'll take one of my backer strips, I'll put glue on the back of it, and then I will just line it up with those top marks, and then I'll just nail it all the way down. I'll be using an 18 gauge brad nailer with 1.25" nails in it. And then once I got that one nailed all the way off, then I'll pull my clamp, and then I'll put my clamp near my 14-inch mark, and then I'll get that tightened up, get this glued and nailed on, and then I'll move the clamp over here and then all the way to the end for my last 2 pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it all glued and nailed together. All right, so we got those backers nailed on. Like I said, we just got them, I put them on the inside of each of those marks. And then I just do 2 nails per stripe. And then now while we got it flipped over, we're just gonna take our backer pieces, and then I'm just gonna line them up with this top stripe and just butt them up against each of the side backer pieces, and then I'll just glue and nail those in, and then that is what I will use for my hangers. All right, so I got those nailed and glued on, and now we can just get this flipped back over. Then you just want to make sure that none of your glue is coming through any of the seams. Looks like mine's good. And the next thing that we're gonna do is finish up our union. And to do the union, I'm gonna be carving mine, but if you don't have a Dremel or something to carve it with, then you could always just use a stencil to spray paint it. I'll go ahead and link the stencil in the description, but you could just tape it in place and just spray paint it. But to carve mine out, the first thing that I'm gonna do is just tape this in place right here, and then I'm just going to take a pencil and just go through and just trace out all the stars. All right, so now that we got those all marked out on there, next thing that I'm gonna do is take my Dremel. I just got a Dremel 3000. Then I got my flex shaft attached to it. Then I got my little dust blower on the end there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and outline the stars using a 105 wood carving tip. And then I will carve out the middles using a 106 wood carving tip. So this right here is the 105 and this is the 106. The 105 is just a little bit smaller than the 106, so that one just lets me get a little bit cleaner lines. But and if you just have a 106 tip, I think that should work good enough if you don't want to go out and buy a 105 carving tip. And when I carve them, I just keep the Dremel on full speed, and I will just go ahead and show you real quick what that looks like. All right, so now that I got all those outlined, as you can see, I just barely go through the surface, just enough to get through the stain. So now I'm just gonna swap out my 105 carving bit for my 106 carving bit, and then I will go ahead and carve out the middles. All right, now that I got all my stars carved out, the next thing that I'm gonna do is just take my white stain, and then I'm gonna take one of these little fine tip brushes, like this one. And then what I'm gonna do is just go through and just add a coat of white stain on these. And when I do it, I'm gonna try to do it really nice and thick, and then I'll just glob it on there, and then I'll just push it around and cover up the whole star, and that's just to give them a little bit of a more whiter look. Obviously, if you want to leave them this color, you can do that too. I personally like the little bit whiter look, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add a coat of stain to these real quick. All right, so now that we got the stars done, now we can go ahead and start working on the Marine Corps emblem. So you're just gonna need to go ahead and get this printed out. I'll show you real quick how I print mine out, in case you're not sure how to do that. All right, so the way that I blow up my images is I open them up into Paint. It's just a desktop app on my computer. The reason that looks all messed up is just because I erased a lot of the black just to save a little bit of ink in my printer. Once I got them opened up into there, I'll just go under File, then I'll go down to Print, and then I'll go under Print Preview. And then from here, you can go to Page Setup. And then right here, you can change your Adjust to Size or your Fit to Size. So right now I have mine at 375%. And then it's in landscape mode also. And then if you just hit OK, then it will kind of show you what it's going to look like in proportion to the paper. So depending on whether you want yours bigger or smaller, that is how I do it. And I still do not know how to do it on an Apple computer. I don't have an Apple computer, so if anybody does know how to do it on an Apple computer, if you could just comment that below just to help out anybody else who has an Apple computer and doesn't know how to do it, but that's how I do it. All right, and then once you got that printed out, the next thing that we're gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and cut off one of the edges of wherever they meet. So like right here, I got this margin, so I'm gonna have to cut that off so that we can line it up here, and then I'll have to do that on the sides as well. And then once you got those cut, then you're just gonna wanna tape it where there's no design. So just tape it like up here and over here just so that we can see the whole design, and then we just have it as one big picture. And then the best way I found to cut these is you just put like a block under it that you don't need, and then just get yourself a straight edge and then just line it up all the way across, and then you can just run your razor blade across it, and then it will give you a really nice clean straight cut. All right, so now that we got that taped together, now it's just one big picture. The next thing that we're gonna do is just get it positioned wherever we want it on the flag. But then before we actually get it taped down in that position, I'm just gonna go ahead and take some of this carbon transfer paper, just enough to cover everything behind this. So I'll probably just need like 3 pieces, just like one here, one here. I actually might be able to get away with just 2 pieces here, I'll have to see. And then what we're gonna do is just lay this down right below where we want our design. So as you can see, it's got like a felt side on one end, and then it's like dark on the other end. And the way this stuff works is you just lay it dark side down on the wood, and then if you like run over that with a pencil, it will like mark the wood below it. The only thing, it's gonna be a little tricky with this because if you like rest your palms on it or do anything like push on it, it will leave a mark. So I'm just gonna try to be super careful and just lay it down, and then lightly lay this on top of it. And then when I trace it, I'll just take like a pencil or just anything. Usually a pencil works good. And then you just go through and just outline it. And I'm just gonna try not like rest my palm on it or anything, just try and float above it and just do a nice outline. So just try to be careful with that. If it's a little hard to do it without resting your hand, you could try and rest it on like a piece of cardboard. But yeah, just do your best not to put any pressure or push on it or anything. But I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna lay these couple pieces down below it so that it will cover the wood below there. And then I'm just gonna kind of figure out where I want it. I think I'm just gonna put it right down in this bottom right corner. So just somewhere over here, and then I'll just measure and just make sure that it's not crooked or anything. And then we will go ahead and just get it all traced out. I can show you real quick. Just got a little piece of this carbon paper. So like, let's say if you push your hand down on it, and then it's not like nothing too bad, but it will start to leave this little bit of smudgy black stuff. So I pushed pretty hard right there, but just to let you know. But all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this all traced out. All right, so now we can go ahead and see how this turned out. It was way too hard to try and not touch the thing, so I just folded up a couple rags and just tried to not like drag them at all. So say a quick prayer and let's hope that it didn't mess everything up below it. Whew, okay. Looks like we are in the clear. So yeah, if you just bundle up a couple rags and just try and be gentle with them and try not like drag them around too much, then you should be fine. But as you can see now, we got a super nice clean outline on there. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is take my Dremel. And I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did with the stars, except for this I'm just gonna do a lighter outline, and I'm gonna go like on the outside of the pencil mark kind of, and then after I outline everything, then I'm gonna take this little I just got some black paint right here, and then what I'm gonna do is just go through and just paint all of the dark stuff. So if I just look at my picture, everything that's dark, I'm gonna paint inside that, and then since I have that little groove there, I'll be able to have a little bit of wiggle room in case I get any over the line. And then after I'm done painting everything, then I will go through and just recarve out that outline, and then that will give it a really nice clean outline. That way I can clean up anything that bleeds over the line or bleeds into the crack or anything. But like I said, first I'm just gonna go through and just go right on the outside of the pencil mark. I'll probably just use my 106 bit. Possibly use my 105 bit for some like this rope and stuff where it's like a little bit more detailed, but I think the 106 bit should be fine for most of it. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through and just do a light outline, just barely get through the surface, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now that I got my outline all done, like I said, I'm just gonna grab my paint. You can probably use any black paint. This is just some stuff that I happen to have lying around. And then I'm just gonna take my little brushes here. I'll probably use like the big one to go over like the bigger areas. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get it all painted up, and we'll see how she's looking. All right, so while my paint's drying up, I'm gonna quickly throw a frame on this flag. This is an optional part. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I think it adds a really cool look to it. So what I'm gonna do is just measure all my sides, and then whatever my measurement is, I'm going to cut 45s off of it. So I'll be using 1x2. So my pieces will be like this, and then I just have to make sure that I cut my piece long. So from this measurement to that measurement, it will have to go from a 45 there up to a 45 up here. And then I'm just gonna be spray painting these black, but you can do them white, or you can leave them wood color, or you can torch them, or do whatever you want. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get all those cut and let those start drying while this finishes drying, just so that they'll be ready to put on. And the easiest way that I found to measure these is if you just hold it on the one after you've already cut 145, and then you just got to add 1 inch to whatever your measurement is, because otherwise it's kind of hard to put this on there and measure it. So that's like a way to get it a little more accurate, but that's just the easiest way that I found to do it. All right, and then while my frame is drying, I'm just gonna go ahead and, like I said, I'm just gonna do one more outline and just clean up any of this black that got in the lines. And then I'll probably just do it a little bit thicker too, just to kind of make it pop out a little bit. All right, so now that I got that outlined, the next thing that I'm gonna do is just go ahead and seal these sides, the edges, and then I'll go ahead and seal the back of it, and then I'll also spray a coat of sealer over the frame. I'll just be using some of this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Clear Gloss. And then I'll be using a different sealer for the face of it, but if you would like to just use this stuff for the face, you could definitely do that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and seal up pretty much everything but the face of it, and then I will seal the face, and then I will put the frame on. All right, so I got these sealed up, and I actually just went ahead and I used my spray sealer for the face of the flag too. So I don't know if you can see, but I think it turned out pretty good. It's got a nice shine to it. But now all we got to do is we just got to get our frame on and get our hangers on. So for the frame, what I'll be doing is I'll just glue each corner, and then I'll actually just kind of build the frame around the flag first. I'll just try and get all my corners put together. I'll just glue them, and then I'll put 2 nails through them. I'll be using my 18 gauge brad nailer. I got 1.25" nails in it. When you're nailing the corners, make sure you don't hold it too tight, because if you hold it like this and you try nail it, if your nail pops out the side, might stick you. So try hold it a little bit off the edge, but I'll just put a little bit of glue in there, and then I'll just nail it on top and bottom, and then I'll do that in each corner. And then once that's on there, then I'll just make sure I like where it's at. I think I'm gonna do mine flush with the face. That's what I did on the last frame that I did, and I like that look, so it's just like that. But if you want to like raise it up, or I could try to do like a 1/4 inch reveal or something, just to do something a little bit different. But then your whole frame will be together, so then you can just kind of hold it up, and then I'll just go ahead and just put nails along the side, and then I'll put nails along the top and the bottom, just to secure it in place. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get the frame all put together on there. All right, so I got my frame all put on there. I just went ahead and went flush with the surface on this one. And then I went through with a Sharpie and just touched up my nail holes, just so that you don't see any of the white wood. So that'll just help make them not stand out at all. And then the last thing that we gotta do is just get it flipped over onto its face real quick. And then once we got it on its face, we just wanna go ahead and get some hangers put on the back. So I just use these large sawtooth hangers. And then the way that I'm gonna put these on is I'll just measure like 3/4 inches from the top of this piece. And then usually I'll just go 2.5 inches in from this edge right here. So it'll be something like that. And then I'll just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And then that should give it a level hanging surface. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get those put on. All right, and that is what it looks like all finished and sealed up. It's got a really nice glossy finish to it. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. I'll go ahead and link anything that I used in the description as well if you would like to order anything. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe. Also, you can check me out on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck with your project.
Yeah.